Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Manahil Morja Bali. I am a student of Rehan School Bengi campus and I am from Karachi, Pakistan. Uh, Today it's my privilege to have conversation with a person who's made a significant marks in diverse fields from the realms of politics to the glitz of television and beyond. Please join me in welcoming the multifaceted and incredibly talented Miss Toni. We are eager to delve into her life journey and learn from her vast experience. So, welcome, ma'am. How are you?
Hello, Manahi. Did I say that right? Manahi?
Yeah,
Good. Good. Well, thank you for having me. I know we're across the world from each other.
yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me your precious time. So, first of all, please introduce yourself for my viewers.
Okay. So, folks, my name is Toni Kaufman, and I have been involved in producing a lot of TV stuff that we have here in the United States as well as in all the Spanish speaking countries. So, there's a big company called Fremantle Media, and they do a lot of the game shows like American Idol, America's Top Model, Family Feud. Lots of things. They're also in the production house. So American Gods is one of their production things like that. I also worked with Fremantle Media Latin America, so the same shows that are in English are also in Spanish, and so I work with them as well. I've also produced the Latin Grammys, and I've produced the Texas Music Awards, and have had a lot of fun in my TV production life. Now, aside from that, I've also done a lot of events. So I don't know if your folks are familiar, but here the colleges get a break in the spring, and it's called spring break, and they get to go to the beach and the islands and do a lot of partying and lots of silly things. But I created those things for 7 years for a beer company called Anheuser Busch, which is Budweiser. And then I also became an IT expert. I was in love with the Microsoft products, and I became a Microsoft technical evangelist, which means I got to go talk to a lot of people about the virtues of Office and Windows and Word and Excel and PowerPoint. So that led me to being selected as the top computer trainer in the country. And I was selected to head the transition team that brought former President Bush, that's the senior, the daddy. I brought him home to Houston, and I became his personal computer trainer. So that, in a nutshell, that's what I've had fun doing. And then I of course went on to become the this is where I got to work with a lot of folks in Pakistan and India and Costa Rica and Mexico. I was the chief of staff of global IT for the SAP division of Hewlett Packard. So I got to meet a lot of lovely people all over the world that we worked with. We had over 330 team members all over the world, and got to meet and be friends with many families in your part of the world.
All right, Greg, that's wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for your introduction. So now let's move on to questions. My first
Okay.
question is on your screen. What inspired your transition from working in IT support for President George S. Bush to casting and production roles in the entertainment industry?
Well, you know what's it's so funny because I went through a very bad illness, and I spent 37 days in ICU. I was the first person that got H1N1 in Houston. I brought it back from a visit to Japan that I had. And so my life changed when all of that happened. I lost the use of my right lung, so I only have one lung, and then I lost my trachea. It collapsed, and so I was on intravenous steroids for 37 days, and so you can see that pretty much my life changed, and I had to sit down and shut up and heal. you know so that is when I the result of that was I eventually got laid off from Hewlett Packard, and I went through a process. Manahil, you're so used to especially at my age, and I'm 68, but you're so used to being the job that you have. And I know you're young and you haven't got there yet, but a lot of people will say, who are you? And you say, well, I'm the chief of staff, or I'm the president, or I'm the CEO. So you never tell them who you are. You always tell them what your job was. And I'm one of those baby boomers that was exactly like that. I didn't know who I was. And so my husband at that time, when I was going through a lot of depression because I had lost my job and I didn't know what I was good at anymore, and I had four wonderful kids that I was always working, and they didn't even know who I was, because we were always busy. So life went on very fast, and I eventually thought to myself, what am I doing now? And my husband looked at me and says, "Baby," and I said, "What?" And he says, "This is a blessing." And I said, "What do you mean this is a blessing?" And I'm not, I start talking to him, like, "Oh, you're crazy," right? Like wives do. And he says, "What would you do that you would do for free because you love doing it so much?" And that was such a wonderful question, because it turned my mind into, I'd like to go back to doing what I used to do that I had the most fun with, which was producing and entertaining and hosting and creating shows, whether they were television shows or podcasts or radio shows. I had the most fun in my life producing and doing exactly what you are doing right now, Manihil. That was where I found myself. And so that's why I went back from IT, back to production, back to hosting, back to producing, and casting. And I got a lot of casting. I got to cast a lot of movies and TV shows. And so that was the change. That was the turning point in when I decided to come back.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your little bit story, and thank you so much for giving me your precious time. Oh, sorry. Very valuable answer. So now let's move on to next question. My next question is, with experience in both English and Spanish language production, how do you navigate cultural nuances and ensure that the shows resonate with different audiences?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you're going through that right now. I mean, your native language is not English, so that's English as a second language. My native language is English, but my mother was from Mexico, and so she taught us to Spanish, and she made sure that my mother and my grandmother made sure that we knew Spanish, and we weren't just doing the one thing, right? So, being a bilingual person, just like I do, that there are differences between how we approach one culture versus the other. But to tell you the truth, in America, which is my father's family has been in the Americas since about the 1600s. My mom was a first generation, second generation, immigrant to the United States, to Texas. And so I got to see the cultural phenomenon that is coming from six or seven generations of Spanish people who had already assimilated and learned English professionally, and practically had already gone to college. A lot of my aunts were nurses and teachers, to seeing the culture that came in with my mother, whose mother was owned a pharmacy, but she was an opera singer and a concert pianist. So she was very educated, and my grandfather was a doctor. So I got to see the different cultures and the different levels of what the differences were between the first generation families and the multi-generation families of people who are considered immigrants to the United States, which is basically all of us, right? So, I mean, everybody in this country came from another country or another continent, with the exception of the Native Americans and the original Mexican Indian tribes and things like that. And there's about 52 of those. So I had the privilege of knowing and understanding the nuances between the cultures, and then between the generations of the cultures. And then on top of that, here's the secret, Manahil, and I'm going to give it to you so that you can give it to your children as well. My father told me, "Baby, when you start speaking to a farm worker or someone who works at those levels, at the manual labor levels, you talk with them just like you were one of them. And when you're dealing with presidents and CEOs and business people and educated people and people with PhDs, you talk at their level because they will never look down. You know, if you're at that same level, no matter who you're interviewing, who you're talking to, then you're going to be much better known, much better received, and much better understood. So that's the secret I'm going to give you as well. When you're talking to someone, you want to make sure, number one, you're the intermediate between me and your audience. So you need to bring us together as a good host, correct? I did the same thing with my shows.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your father advice, and thank you so much for your great answer.
My
So now
pleasure.
let's so now let's move on to next question. My next question is, can you share a memorable behind the scenes moment from the one of the top talent search program you worked on?
So the top talent searches that I've been on, I mean, yeah, you know which one you're talking about. So in English, it was the American Idol show. In Spanish, it was called Objective Fame, Objetivo Fama, which means basically your objective is fame. So it had, I mean, even that was a cultural difference. The behind the scenes, what most people don't know is that when these shows first started, I mean, we as the casting team would go into the cities where the events were going to be held at, and at the beginning, nobody knew who these shows were or what they were going to do. So it was our job to go to the high schools, to listen to the choirs, to go to the colleges, to go to the karaoke bars, to go to the nightclubs that had different singers, and we would span the entire area and start listening because I do have pitch perfect hearing. I can't sing very well, but I know when it's right, right? So it was up to us, the casting team, to go find these people and say, please show up at this TV station on this date at this time because I've selected you to be one of the competition, one of the people who are going to compete for the titles, right? And so that's how a lot of these shows get started. Even America's Top Model, which in Spanish was Belleza Latina, which is beautiful Latinas, right? And so we would do the same thing is we would have competitions, and we would go to all the beauty pageants and the Miss Texas and the Miss USA and the this and the Miss Houston, and we would go to all these pageants to try to bring in, you got to pull in the talent so that you have a successful audition, and then the auditions go to the successful show, right? And I learned a lot. We all did because it was just starting, but all shows start like that. They all have a beginning. You may not ever have heard about this show, but it ends up becoming a big thing, right? And so that was kind of our experience. Oh, I will tell you, Family Feud. Are you familiar with the Family Feud show? It's where they have the two families and they go against each other, and you have to guess what 100 people said the answer to these questions, right? So I will tell you a secret about casting for Family Feud. You ready for this? All right. So there's 5 people in the family, right? So the casting directors have to audition them and listen to who is the captain. That's the smartest one of the family. That's the leader of the family, right? So Manahil, in your family, who is the smartest and the leader?
Uh, my older brother Ayan and smaller sister Isha.
Okay, they're the smartest and they're the leaders and they're going to take the family to win, right? So the number 1 spot is that person. Number 5 is your sister. So your brother and your sister go 1 and 5 because they're interchangeable. They're both smart. They're going to give you the right answer and they have the chance for you to win. The number 2 spot is somebody that's not so bright.
Wait. Ma'am, we are four siblings. Sorry for that.
Okay. Okay, you're 4. So the number two person, because there's always five people in a family, right? So we'll probably bring in your four and then your grandfather or something like that, right? So the number two slot is the not so smart but really cute, and maybe we'll get the right answer, maybe we'll not. The number three slot is the person who can get the right answer, is also smart but not the leader, right? So that one's going to save your family. The number four spot is the clown. Who is the funniest person in your family? Who makes you laugh?
Yes.
That's the number four slot, right? So
Yes.
in my family, it would have been my big sister. She would make everybody laugh all the time, no matter what, right? And so that's a secret to the casting process of Family Feud.
All right, ma'am. Great answer. That's wonderful answer. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your answer. So now let's move on to next question. My next question is, how did your experience in managing high-profile corporate teams prepare you for your current endeavors with Standout Stars Speaker Bureau?
The bureau. So the experience in managing high profile teams is very similar to what I'm doing now. And here's what I'm okay, for every production there is a team, right? And for every team, there's going to be someone who is the best speaker, the best presenter, the best salesperson. So, what I look for now when I speak to people are which one of those what categories do they fit in? Because everybody that I talk to either wants to be a speaker or is already a speaker, but doesn't really have it refined. You had a wonderful person on this morning, I believe, with Eric Zuley, who's an incredible speaker, just off the cuff, right? I've met incredible people who can say incredible things without even writing down a script. A lot of reporters do that. A lot of CEOs do that. But getting together a real signature talk like the TED or the TEDx talks, that requires scripting and practice and practice and practice. For every 1 minute of a TED talk, of a TEDx talk, they have to practice at least 1 hour. So their talk is perfect when it comes to the 15 or 17 minutes that they've got. So, what I've been able to do with all of my background is see the people the way I feel that they should be seen by others. And then it's my job to get them ready for that. Right? So, if someone is doing a great job at interviews like you and I are doing right now, there is really, you could tell that I don't have something scripted because I'm just answering questions, right? And I'm answering them to the best of my ability. Whereas if I was presenting a TEDx talk, I would have 15 minutes uninterrupted, and I've got to get the right message out there. So my job as a producer and owner of a speakers bureau is to find the experts in each of those categories, and then make sure that they, within the time that they have allotted, that they reach the audience that they're trying to reach, because the name of the game is, at the end of the talk, you want to be able to either make a sale or have somebody refer you, or to create a partner, right, that somebody else can sell for you. So that's what the world of speaking is, can we make a sale? Can we reach an audience? Can we grow our list? Can I be seen as the go-to authority, the expert? And will people come to me because they trust me, they know me, and now they think they can work with me? So those five things in my mind are what I'm trying to get my people to do. Does that help?
All right, ma'am. Great answer. Thank you so much for your wonderful answers. So now let's move on to next question.
Okay.
My next question is on your screen. What advice do you have for budding entrepreneurs or speaking looking to make their mark in their respective industries?
The number one piece of advice I can give every budding entrepreneur is know your numbers. Know your numbers. How many calls does it take to make an appointment? How many appointments does it take to make a sale? How many sales do I need to make this month to hire someone to help me? What are my goals, my vision, my mission, my actions? What's going to get me there? There's a whole lot. This is so complicated because there's so many input levels. What I mean by input is, especially when you've been in business for a while, Eric is a perfect example of this. So he gets requests from Messenger, requests from the phone, requests from LinkedIn, requests from Facebook, requests from private messages. So, how are we filtering all of those requests to come down to one place where we can record them and then respond to them and then make appointments and then see how we can help them? Those are the numbers that you need to know because it's all a numbers game. So the if you're already, I what I recommend to people who are entrepreneurs that already have a website is look at your website analytics. Tell me how many clicks, how many people are visiting, how long they're staying, what are they clicking on, which tells you what they're interested in, which tells you what service you can offer because they're interested in that click, right? And so those little things like that, your website is your booth at a trade show. And as people walk by, if they stop, it's because you attracted them with something, right? Your service, your program, your product, whatever it was, attracted them to stop. That's called a view. The views lead to a click through. The click through leads to more information. The more information can lead to an appointment, and an appointment can lead to a sale. That's the name of the game. So never give up on your dreams, your goals, your vision, and your mission because all of those things come together to create the bubble that is your company. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your advice for entrepreneurs. And now let's move on to the next question. My next question is, as a producer of podcasts and documentaries, what topics or themes are you most passionate about exploring?
I am I'm in love with, have you ever heard of a man named Joseph Campbell? Okay. Every movie, Mana Hill, that you've ever seen that you loved. I don't care if it was The Matrix. I don't care if it was of Star Wars. I don't care, if it's Annie. Every movie that you've ever seen is based upon the hero's journey. So I love creating. Now, you've heard of the hero's journey. The hero's journey is what Joseph Campbell created. Go to YouTube, look up the hero's journey. You're going to love it. Every movie, every story, every book that you've ever read that you fell in love with is based on that journey. And that journey is how I see and how I put together people's lives, people's missions, people's what they're trying to accomplish, what they have accomplished. That's how you create a good documentary. That's how you create a good story. That's how you create a good script, a good book, and a good movie. So that's kind of what falls into place. So if I've given you some homework. You're going to go look up the hero's journey, and you're going to see exactly how it works. So it looks like a clock, and there's 12 steps. Everybody starts at 12. That's the status quo. That's where you are right now. You turn around, you look at your home, you look at your office, you look at your microphone. That's where you are right now. Then you get a choice. For example, you got a choice for coming into this wonderful school, right? Yeah, okay. And so you took that choice. That's the green pill or the blue pill. Okay, the red pill or the blue pill. You took a choice. You said, "Yes, I'm going to that school." Then that's number 1. Number 2, you met a mentor, didn't you? Right? Luke met Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Matrix met Morpheus. Neo met Morpheus. Every movie has the choice, the mentor, and then the challenges that you're going to face. Right? That's number 3. So it takes you by road, there's your story. So if I was making a documentary about you, I would have started with where you are now, what choice did you make, who's your mentor and how they changed your life. That's number 4. And what was so hard, the challenges, the learning. What was your dragon? What was your Darth Vader? Who was it that scared you that you needed your mentor to get through? That's number 5. And then at the number 6 level, and I'm not going to go through all 12. This is where I'm going to stop. At the number 6 level, you have death or rebirth. Because death doesn't mean that you died, it means that you changed, right? So now that you've got a mentor, now that you've gone through challenges, now that you know who your enemies are, now that you know what you have to conquer, now that you know what you have to go through to become better, you become better. And that's the 6 o'clock. Is that cool?
Yeah,
That's
it's
all.
very cool. Thank you so much,
That's
ma'am,
how
for
I see
your time.
people.
Thank you.
My
So,
pleasure.
ma'am Tony, for our conversation today has been both enlightening and captivating, from understanding the care journey you undertook, transitioning from the tech-driving environment supporting President George S. W. Bush to the vibrant and bustling world of entertainment. Your story is a testament to versatility and resilience. Your perspective on cultural nuances or in productions, coupled with insights on nurturing budding talents, offers a unique lens of our listeners. Moreover, your passion for podcasting and documentary making echoes the importance of narrative in today's world. To all our budding entrepreneurs, speakers, and content creators listening in, I hope Ma'am Tony's journey serve as an inspiration, a reminder that our path as a diverse as our patience, and that with the dedication we can bridge seemingly disparate world. So, Ma'am Tony, on behalf of our listeners and myself, I extend heartfelt gratitude for sharing your time and wisdom with us today. We eagerly anticipate your future projects and contribution to both the tech and entertainment worlds. Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure, Manahil. Take care and say hello to everybody at the school. I think what you're doing is fabulous. Keep it going.
Thank you. Bye.